Financial 16 years ago started as predominantly a non-conforming subprime lender in the mortgages space, and we realised that there were opportunities in the broader field, and so Liberty throughout its history has now divested into asset finance, commercial lending, self-managed super funds, and there's more coming. Very customer centric, absolutely. Everything that we build is focused on our customer, that being the broker. So yes, we are concerned about the borrower, of course we are, because in the end, once the broker's relationship in introducing the business to us is finished, we have the tail with the borrower. But first and foremost, our distribution is through the broker channel. Personally, after 17 years Westpac, I realised that corporate life was enough for me. I went out and started my own little sales, mentoring and consulting company, and a certain person ruined my life about 14 years ago when they said, you just got to come and join this company called Liberty. It was a very big step, but there comes a time, John, where you take a look at yourself and say, Westpac, it gave me all the tools and a lot of the skills for me, but I realised that if I was to break out and be true to myself and really challenge myself, that if I can relate a story to you, I had some stellar years within the corporation, an amazing years. And a very, very senior manager who was doing my appraisal sort of came through, and I got my little award and everything. We were having dinner that night, and he said, look son, you can be justifiably proud. You really are. You've done a cracker year, the world's your oyster. And that parting comment to me was, but always remember this, Mohnas, it's not really all that hard to be a star in a bank. And those words always at every review resonated with me, and I thought, you know what, he was absolutely right. If I'm going to prove my self-worth that I am a genuine sales manager, I've got to take something from cradle and actually build it and prove to myself that I can actually do it, rather than having the whole infrastructure within a bank. And that was the real challenge, the great challenge, John. I would say that the best thing I've ever done was when I finished my schooling, I took off overseas and I kissed my mother goodbye, and I said, Mum, I'll be home in 3 to 6 months. And 2.5 years later I came back, so I backpacked the world. And if that doesn't teach you a lot of life's lessons about being self-sufficient, independence, how to get yourselves out of very sticky situations, which all young boys tend to get themselves into. That was an absolute highlight. My children, I've got 4 little buggers. That certainly was one of the greatest life-altering things ever, and I think they will continue to be my greatest challenge. Not quite, John. Albeit that I am 56, I think there's a little bit of life left in the old dog, mate. Probably not too much, Johnny, but there's a little bit. Yeah, but you know what? The thing about myself is I've always had, and I'm a bit pathetic, I have goals. I've always set myself very strong goals, and I don't like deviating from them. Short-term goals I do, like weight loss, hopeless, but longer-term life goals, I strive to achieve them, and that's really helped me along the way. And I've got a few more to go. My oh shit moments. Let's see, the first one was Westpac very kindly offered to transfer me from Queensland and Sydney, where I was very, very comfortable, to Melbourne. And this was for a special project, which they said, you've got to come to Melbourne because Victoria is in a little bit of bother. What I didn't realise was that Westpac's market share here was 3%, and my first 2 years in Melbourne was closing down branches, getting ready for Westpac Direct, and I thought to myself, oh shit, what have I let myself in for? The other one, of course, was within Liberty was the GFC. From being on top of our game, the world was our oyster. We were amazing settlements, growing like you wouldn't believe. To it was like the if people are familiar with the bank robbery shutters, they just pop up and the world's out. That was an oh shit moment for a lot of us here. We're delighted to say that we rode out both, and that we believed in our game plan, we believed in our company, we believed in our strategy. And we had to readjust everything in both corporations. Goals, everything had to change because the world had changed. And that really, the oh shit moments really test your mental capacity more than anything else on what do we do now. We never foresaw this, no one foresaw these events. And it's how you react under that extreme pressure sort of helps build you, and well, it didn't kill us, so ergo it made us stronger, and it really sort of put a lot of support into that great adage. Most people ran out of capital. That wasn't our issue. We actually had the capital to lend, but if we didn't securitize it, it would all be on balance sheet. So if we lent it all and it all remained on balance sheet, we didn't know how to handle the balance sheet. So fortunately, we made a couple of approaches to the Australian Office of Financial Management, the AOFM, and we didn't get our first meeting off that well. We were told no thank you. However, other people there saw a bit of a glimmer there, and in the next meeting it all went very, very well. So we will be eternally grateful for the Rudd Swan government. It doesn't matter what people say, those two folks really handled the GFC very well for Australia, and we'll be eternally grateful to Treasury for buying our notes. Look, there were only 3 non-bank lenders that got bond issues away, and we always had a very strong strategy that we would have an independent servicer rating, and our bonds have always performed very well. We were profitable through the GFC, so, and you know what? The things that we asked for we didn't ask for deposit guarantees or anything like that. We simply said, we want to lend for home loans and car loans. Can you stump up and help us? And when they had a look at our operation, they realised that this was a pretty funky little business and very much under radar. And they kind of didn't put us on the radar, but we went onto their radar. John, in hindsight, it could have been one of the best things that ever happened to us. It sharpened our focus. If we have a look at periods where there's phenomenal growth, you can get actually tied up in grow, more, and you lose sight of some things like cost controls, and so you put on people as quickly as you can to cope with the growth and everything, and sometimes efficiencies go out the door in the pursuit of growth because they were halcyon days. What the GFC did, it sort of went bang, stop. Growth doesn't need to stop, but you have to trim your cloth. So can we get efficiencies elsewhere? And it made us sort of look around, okay, if mortgages have slowed, why didn't we focus on asset finance before? Why didn't we look at plant and equipment? Why weren't we really focusing on commercial? Because we were so tied up in growing mortgages. It was low-hanging fruit, everybody was making money, and we didn't take those sort of asset classes very seriously. The GFC made us tighten up, develop strategies, and coming out of it we realised that we probably had too many eggs in one basket. Relevance. I've always said, John, that there's a lot of competitors out there. The finance market in Australia is incredibly competitive, and we have 4 giants. I mean, if you look at the top 10 banks in the world, 4 Australia. So how do we differentiate ourselves? We will never outmarket them. We'll never outproduce them. We will never out anything. However, the one thing that we can do is we can have smarter people than them working with our customers, creating greater relevance. And the old saying goes that most people, when they interact business, the first person that you think of is the last person that you saw. And that's the message that we want to get across, that we want all of our customers to have the ability to say yes more often. We don't want to be in the price game. We simply cannot be. It is about running a profitable business. And like you said, Porsche, incredibly profitable. They create a excellent quality product and they demand a premium for it. There's business opportunities everywhere, and fortunately for us, very few of them have heard of Liberty or have had a direct contact with it. So for us, it's product proliferation but still through third-party channels. One, it's long overdue, John, because there was a proliferation of people who never ever should have been involved in credit, in the sale of credit. So it's bringing in a level of professionalism. Is it enough? My answer is no. We play in the mortgage industry, and my greatest dream for this is that we become the mortgage profession. So that means that our educational standards must be lifted. The regulation must be watertight and not wishy-washy like it is now. John, one of my hobby horses that I've been talking to the brokers about is monoline means it's a dinosaur. So what I say is, with a mortgage, you should be able to identify superannuation, risk opportunities, car loans, if they're self-employed. It's a plethora of information there, and you should become a trusted financial advisor, and you should be bringing in a fend planner and an insurance broker and working together to give a whole of life scenario to the borrower. One is fear, right? They have a firm belief that if they offer anything else, they might upset the customer, or it's fear of the unknown and never having given it a go. So I know mortgages, I'm going to stick with mortgages, and I'm not going to learn anything else. So through just fear and probably product ignorance, that's the first one. The second one, and which is probably even worse, is the fact that the mortgage industry is a cottage industry. We're not dealing with highly qualified professionals who are astute business people. Right? That might come across as a little bit, confronting, but it is a truth that there are very low barriers to entry. You do your Cert 4, you can be a mortgage broker. That doesn't turn you into a business person. Now, a business person approaches business in very different ways. They capture all opportunities, and they have a very different approach. And thirdly, people do not approach this as a long-term, career where I build a dynamic, ongoing business. To improve the lives of Australians, create better education. 22 million people, incredibly clever country. What we have achieved is pretty amazing. And I think that we need to get a quantum leap in our smarts. I really want to see a broader-based education and a value driver in education. So if I can change anything, I want a real thirst and hunger for knowledge from Australians.